Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 170 of the 815 Exchange. And well. Alright, we had some championships decided in NASCAR and the MLB. And listen, by the way, everything you're looking for can be found in the description, timestamps, which are also embedded in the video, and also my social media links, or my social media usernames, or whatever you want to call it. If you follow me on any of my social media, you know it was a great week in college football. I mean, it was a great and electrifying week in college football, especially not even Saturday, but the day after, yesterday on Sunday. It was a great day in college football. So we're going to talk about that. Very, very soon, of course, it's going to kick us off today. And, of course, we got some stuff to preview for the next week, and what a week in entertainment it was as well. Feels like all of the shows are on for this week, so good with me. As always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. But without further ado, I need to deliver on my promises. And, of course, that means starting off with college football. Let me adjust the mic real quick. Before we're gonna get to that very special game that happened on Saturday that brought me the greatest of rewards on Sunday. We're gonna get to that, but before we get to that, we're gonna go through the slate, all right? And of course, we do that chronologically. Texas, boy, oh boy. All right, Burt Auburn continues to deliver. He gets a 42-yarder that wins the game in overtime, but they blew a 27-7 lead against Kansas State. And, this game looked like it was done. Malik Murphy had to start this game. Of course, Quinn Ewers is injured. He is out right now. Malik Murphy, former 5-star at one point in time, was the number 2 quarterback in the country, I think, behind Quinn. Could be wrong there. I think he was the number 2 behind Quinn at one point in time back in the day. But he is the backup quarterback for Texas, ahead of Arch Manning. Arch is not playing. I saw a lot of questions about that. People were like, yo, so Malik beat out Arch? Listen, Arch is not. Did y'all miss that part of the recruitment where it was like, yeah, Arch is redshirting this year? So I don't know why people were like, yo, are they gonna play Arch? No. He's the third string. He's going to redshirt this year, keep his eligibility, probably start next year. But he was not the backup this year. So I don't know why people were surprised about that. But Malik Murphy looked like a world beater. For the first 2 drives, people were talking about, man, Arch might need to transfer because Malik Murphy looks like the truth. All right? He looked like all the physical skills had been caught up to by the mental stuff and his actual talent. Yeah, and then the rest of the game happened, and it just was not anything like those first 2 drives from Malik Murphy. He finishes a mere 19 for 37, 248, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Not pretty. Jonathan Brooks continues to be the offensive focal point, especially with Quinn out. 112 and a touchdown. He has rocketed up draft boards, by the way. I think Mel Kiper has number 1. Is the number 1 running back in this year's draft. So, yeah, JB continues to cook. C.J. Baxter, the freshman, 90 yards and a touchdown for him. The ground game was essential. All right, they were essential for Texas this week. They got it done in big time. A.D. Mitchell did have 8 receptions, 149 and a touchdown, though. So, yeah, pretty solid, complete offensive performance besides Malik Murphy kind of having a dud. And honestly, like I said, it was a tale of 2 halves. All right, Texas jumped all over this Kansas State team, but they fought all the way back. Will Howard finishes with 327 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Phillip Brooks has 5 receptions, 76 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Jacob Parrish had both of those picks of Malik Murphy. And yeah, a lot of that work was done in that second half. They did not give up. They fought back, took it to OT, but just ran out of time. And Texas was able to get it done. Like I said, Burt Auburn hits the 42-yarder to win the game. Got to give a shout, though. They got 7 sacks, by the way, of Will Howard in this game. The Texas defense, for all we can say about what happened in the second half, they showed up big time. 7 sacks, like I said, of Howard. Ethan Burke had 2. Jalen Ford had 8 tackles, 1.5 sacks as well. And yeah, Texas survives. All right, survives and advances. They take out Kansas State. Ole Miss, all right. This was a whole lot of, it could have been a really rough week. A really rough week. And honestly, depending on what side of the coin you were, it may have been a really rough week. Ole Miss takes out TAMU, Texas A&M, 38-35, and Jimbo Fisher's seat has never been hotter. It has never been hotter. Okay, so for those that live in Texas that may be watching this or watching a clip of this, I do want to say I feel, I apologize ahead of time on behalf of the Texas A&M very, very wealthy boosters if your gas prices start to, go up. Okay, if the gas prices in Texas are going up, you know why. All right, this is why. Because Jimbo Fisher has completely been an utter failure in his time at Texas A&M. All right, it has not worked out at all. At all. And he, of course, he has that, I think it's a $100 million buyout or something insane. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid. So them gas prices might be going up in Texas. Because, yeah, Texas A&M, this rebuild has just, it is not gone how I think any of us pictured, especially after they got that #1 overall recruiting class. Thought they were bringing in all this talent. Jimbo Fisher, former national championship winning, coach. It just has not worked. Just 100 yards, but it was not enough. Ultimately, it was not enough. The Aggies are in trouble. I don't know where they go from here, but yeah, Ole Miss sets up a very big matchup versus Alabama, who, that's going to be very, 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 very pivotal. Sets up a very big matchup with Alabama next week. Of course, Alabama took on LSU. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, Ole Miss gets it done, 38-35. Clemson, all right, Dabo had an awful week, all right? He was ranting at fans. People were like, yo, the Clemson, I said it last week, I think, Clemson dynasty is over. The reign of terror is over. It was done. All right? Notre Dame was coming to town, and you know what? They needed this. Clemson needed this. All right? 31-23, they get the win over Notre Dame. Philip Maffa. No Will Shipley. Shipley's currently injured. Maffa filled in and was just as good as Shipley, if not better. All right, 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. Notre Dame, we've seen Estime run wild on opponents this year. Maffa ran wild. Ran wild on Notre Dame. They could not stop him. But for all as great as Phil Maffa was in this game, this was the Jeremiah Trotter Jr. game. Do not get it messed up. This was the Jeremiah Trotter Jr. game. Oh, my goodness. One of the premier linebacking prospects in this year's coming draft. And this was his NFL tape. This was the NFL tape. 11 tackles, 2 sacks, 2.5 TFLs, and, a pick 6. He was stunned like his daddy, all right? Trotter went off in this game. Went off. He was everywhere, making every time there needed to be a big defensive play, it was 54. Every single time for Clemson. Without fail, if you were watching, it was 54 every single time. When you're in a game where you need your stars to show up, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. showed up massively. All right, massively for Clemson, and they get a massive win versus Notre Dame. Sam Hartman had 2 picks in this game. He is now 0-5 against Clemson. And will finish his collegiate career because there's no way he comes back for a 7th year. But, who knows. 0-5, all right? It's like we've been saying about Sam, right? He's a good quarterback. He's a good college quarterback. But he's stagnated. He's hit that. He's plateaued. He's never going to be that star guy. All that, first 2 weeks Heisman talk was smoke and mirrors, all right? Smoke and mirrors. Don't know why we started it. but he is never, ever, ever going to be out of pure spite, take out Air Force 23-3. We had one of the worst quarterbacking performances of the year from the Air Force quarterback, Larrier. 9 for 20. Yes, hear this out. 9 for 22, 93 yards, 2 interceptions, 3 fumbles, 2 of which were lost. 9 for 22, 93 yards, and 4 turnovers. Almost 5. It was the worst It was one of the worst quarterbacking performances we have seen all year. All right, and credit where credit's due to Army. All right, Bryson Daly, he wasn't great quarterbacking wise either, but you know what? They're a service academy. We run the option here. He had 140 yards and 2 touchdowns, balled out. Bo Nicholas Paul as well had 2 picks, but Army, I mean, it was just a very, very well done game plan. Simply put, a perfectly executed game plan against Air Force. They were ready for whatever they threw, made Air Force try to throw the ball, and they got exposed. They could not throw the ball. Larrier could not play quarterback effectively, and it spelled disaster. All right, absolute disaster for Air Force, and Army was able to capitalize, and they got a huge, 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 huge win. And yeah, that Navy game becomes even so bigger. So yeah, Army, congratulations. They get it done versus Air Force, pull off the upset. Georgia is, I mean, very lucky. Very, very lucky. You know, the refs may have given Georgia one. All right? There were some interesting calls in this game. Georgia wins over Missouri 30-21. But there were some very, very interesting calls. Very, very creative calls from the referees in this game, but nonetheless, Georgia wins. They survive. I think that's really the best way to put it. I don't know if it was necessarily a win as much as it was, you know, survival, as we've seen with many top teams this week. This was a survival week. Georgia survived, okay? Purely survived. Carson Beck goes 254 and 2 touchdowns. Continues to look like, I mean, of the unproven, like, top team quarterbacks, let's be honest, he's arguably been the best, all right? He's arguably been the best. So, yeah, give him back just a little bit of flowers. All right, 254 and 2 touchdowns. He ain't going to win you a game yet. I'm not going to give him that. But, you know, solid performances. He's been consistent. You'll take it. Lat McConkey continues to play himself into the NFL draft as the next great slot receiver. 7 receptions and 95 yards. All right, he has been that consistent target for Georgia, for Beck, throughout this season. And I got to give credit where credit's due. So, shout out to Lat. Because, yeah, he's been, I mean, he has settled into that role excellently. The stereotypical white, undersized receiver, slot receiver, he's done it perfectly. All right, he's been absolutely perfect in that role this year for Georgia. Jalen Walker, 4 tackles, 1.5 sacks. He is a menace. Another member of these legendary defenses Georgia have had over the past couple years. And yeah, he's been one of the focal points. This is why games like this. Nas and Bullard had a pick. They both picked off Brady Cook, who did not have a great game. And honestly, if he plays a little bit better, plays like, you know, some people were claiming him to be that best quarterback in the SEC. He plays like that, maybe Missouri wins. Maybe they win, but he didn't. He didn't show up. That Georgia defense definitely did show up. Gave him a lot of issues. Cody Schrader, though, continues to be one of the best, one of the most underrated backs. You know, besides me coming on and being like every week, yo, Schrader ran for 100 again. You don't really hear too much about him, but he's been one of the most underrated backs, I think, in the country. 112 and a touchdown for him. Luther Burden continued to, you know, be wide receiver number 1 next year, as he has been since high school, frankly. But yeah, Mizzou, very competitive. Very competitive. That program's going in the right direction, but Georgia survives. You can say what you want about the refs, but you know what? They survived. They got it done. Oklahoma State takes out Oklahoma. Oh, sweet, sweet. I mean, I could cry. Once again, I could cry, okay? Because once again, we heard all this talk. As a USC fan, we have heard nothing but slander unmitigated slander from Oklahoma fans, not all OU fans, but from a certain toxic portion of the OU fan base all year because of Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams and all this stuff and because Oklahoma was winning games. What did I say about Oklahoma? What did I say? Before they lost to Kansas a week ago, what did I say the week before? I said, I don't believe in Oklahoma. To put it bluntly, I don't believe that they are a legitimate contender. I believe they're a good team, don't get me wrong, but they are not what that record says, what the ranking says, and what some people are starting to believe. Dylan Gabriel's not a Heisman contender, and this is not a national championship winning team. It's not even a playoff team. And some of you may have listened to that. And some of you may have not. But if you didn't, well, do you believe me now? Do you believe me now? Because in the last, at least for probably a while, Bedlam matchup, because conference realignment is stupid. We've had that rant many, many times. Not going to do it right now. Oklahoma State takes out Oklahoma 27-24. Jeff Lebby sucks. All right, to put it bluntly, Jeff Lebby is a terrible offensive coordinator. So Sooner fans, I actually empathize with you. Even though it was funny to see your pack, get lit up in this game, and to lose to your rival in your last matchup has to hurt. But I'm gonna be honest, Jeff Lebby sucks. All right, he sucks. I mean, he's not necessarily Brian Ferentz bad, but he ain't too far off. He is not a good offensive coordinator. Y'all need to go somewhere else with that, especially with Jackson. You do not want to limit the potential of Jackson Arnold with Jeff Lebby calling his plays. That's all I'm saying. Ollie Gordon, listen, please can we please talk about Ollie Gordon? Can somebody please, besides me, talk about Ollie Gordon? Is this guy, how is he not in Heisman convo? He's been one of the best players in the country all year. He was one of the best players on this field. All right, 137 and 2 touchdowns. You can argue he was the best player on the field. All right, he has continued to put up numbers week after week after week after week. He's playing in the Big 12. He's playing comp. Please, somebody talk about Ollie Gordon. That's all I'm saying, man. Ollie bought out again. DG was mid. All right, 344, a touchdown and a pick. It's Dylan. All right, he's going to have weeks sometimes where it's like, yo, star. But he's also going to have these weeks like this week where it's like, yeah, he's okay. He's okay. He alright. He's a good quarterback, but he's alright. He's in that like Sam Hartman tier like we were talking about earlier. He's nothing like special, but he might win you a game here and there, but he also could, just play you into complete mediocrity. But DG was very, very mid. Some credit, though, to the Oklahoma State defense. Gavin Sawchuk is the future of the running back position at Oklahoma. I don't really think it's up for debate. 111 and a touchdown. They need to make him the permanent starter. I don't know why he wasn't already, but you know what? After the past 2 weeks, he needs to be the permanent starter because he's got it. All right, Gavin has got it. Drake Stoops, in his 15th year of college football, still putting on for the Stoops name. 12 receptions, 134, and a touchdown. All of that, but it was not enough because Oklahoma State and Ollie Gordon get it done, and they win Bedlam in possibly the last matchup. And how sweet is that? All right. There's no need to even sugarcoat this or even, do any of that. Even cap about, if you're watching an 8:15 Exchange college football segment, who you're here to see me talk about. There's no need to. None at all. You want to hear me talk about USC. You've seen the clips probably on TikTok if you're a TikTok fan, if this goes on TikTok. You're here to see me talk about my favorite team. All right, you're here to see me talk about the USC Trojans and my misery. And also, of course, because we've kind of got the current thing going on where I said we're going to finish 1-4, and I've been right so far. I've been completely perfect because I know this team. You're probably still looking for updates here. So here we are. Alright, this is what you came to this segment for. This may be what you're watching this episode for. So let's get into it, shall we? Washington versus USC. One of the hotly anticipated matchups of the year. Of course, mostly because of the quarterback matchup of one Caleb Superman Williams and one Michael Penix Jr. Two of the top quarterbacks in this year's draft. Two of the top quarterbacks, two of the top players in the country. Two of the top Heisman candidates as well. The preseason favorite versus, I guess, the current favorite, technically. But anyways, Washington, USC, live from the Cali. All of the hype, all of that, yada, yada, yada. I thought we were going to get destroyed. I'm going to be frank. I thought we were going to get absolutely destroyed. I said it last week. We're going to get butchered. I knew it was going to be bad. It wasn't that bad. It actually was not that bad. Washington only wins 52-42. So, hey, I'm glad to see the offense show up again. But, we're going to get into it. And you might notice, I'm not yelling yet. I'm not horrifically upset yet. Because some good things did come out of this loss. And we're going to get to that very, very soon. But let's recap the game, shall we? All right, let's talk about the quarterbacks that we've hyped up so much. Michael Penix Jr., all right? Mike was, it wasn't his best game. I know a lot of people are going to be like, yo, he got the win. They dropped 52. How can you say, yo, Mike didn't have... Honestly, let's be real. He was better against Oregon than he was against USC, all right? And it's not like he had to be at his best because, again, it's USC's defense, all right? If you want to call what USC has a defense, quote-unquote, he doesn't have to be at his best to be successful, so it's fine. But, yeah, let's be real. It wasn't Mike's best performance. He wasn't flawless. He wasn't – he wasn't the best quarterback. He got out-dueled, if we're being honest, by Caleb in this game. But, he did enough to win, which is all he needed to do. USC was going to give him whatever he needed. But yeah, he goes 22 for 30, 256, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Not his best performance. However, he didn't need to have his best performance, like I said, because Dylan Johnson had the single and most predictable greatest game of his career, potentially of his life, all right? It was, it must have been bliss running out there. But then again, you're playing USC's defense. We could have thrown my grandfather. We could have thrown you at home behind that Washington offensive line, given you the ball 20 times, and you would have had 202 because that's how bad the USC defense is, and that's just how bad we're going to get to Alexander Grinch. We're going to get to him. Dylan Johnson, though, 256 and 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, shout out to Dylan. Credit where credit's due. He was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal in this game. USC could not stop him, which is part of the course. But he had a monster game. He showed out. He stole the show from Penix in this game, and he was the catalyst and the reason why that Washington offense was able to drop their regularly scheduled 50 bomb against USC. Caleb Williams, once again, like I said, he won the duel technically. He was the best quarterback out there. He needed a game like this, by the way. Caleb absolutely needed a game where he showed up again on the big stage because the slander was getting towards... The slander levels were getting there, all right? And they continued for whatever reason we'll talk about. But they were getting there, at least for his play. It was looking rough, but he showed up. The lights weren't too bright. He didn't try to do too much. 27 for 35, 328 and 4 touchdowns. He was great, all right? He looked every bit the guy that he is supposed to be. He looked like that guy. He did everything he could. Literally did everything he could to win this game. Unfortunately, he plays for USC. Austin Jones, by the way, had 127 yards. Taj Washington continues to deliver. 8 receptions, 122, and a touchdown. But USC can't stop anybody. All because of the worst defensive coordinator living. The worst defensive coordinator at any level of football on the planet. I'm talking from the NFL to college to high school to Pop Warner. To flag football for infants. The worst defensive coordinator in the country. Alex Grinch, the bum himself, the bane of Southern California. The man who Lincoln Riley has to be best friends with. Has to love so dearly. To keep him on this long and waste Caleb Williams' career at USC. Because that's what happened. So I'm blaming Lincoln for keeping him this long. Or whoever made that decision to keep him this long. Because he was never the guy. We knew this last year. No disrespect to Tajay Spears and Tulane and everybody else who dropped the 40 bomb on us last year. But we knew last year he wasn't the guy. But yet, USC stuck with him. And wasted 2 years of one of the best quarterbacks in college football this century. Wasted it. He didn't win a conference championship. He didn't make the playoff. He didn't win anything of any meaning. played lights out, was the best player on the field, but had no defense to help him. I would cry too. I would cry too if I gave everything I had. I'm dropping 40 a game, 50 a game, and it ain't enough. Do you know how insane that is? Do you know how insane that is? Think about that. I have to throw for at least 300 yards and 4 touchdowns for us to be competitive. Not to win. I know if I don't drop at least 42 points a game, I don't drop 50, we're going to lose. Do you know how insane that is? At the college football level, I have to be perfect, lights out, best player every week, dropping historic numbers to try to win a game. Not even guaranteed to win, to attempt to win. That is insane. But that was the reality for Caleb Williams and USC for the past 2 years. And somebody thought it was a great idea to keep Alex Grinch this long. But you know what? Today, and you know what? This is the month of thankfulness, right? Thanksgiving, it's November, right? This is the month to be thankful. So today, Monday, November 6th, I am thankful. I am thankful for Washington. I am thankful for the Washington Huskies because finally, in the words of the Bible, finally, Alex Grinch has joined the unemployment line. He has been fired. And it is long, long overdue. Long, long overdue. He should have been gone eons ago, but I'm happy. I am so happy. I didn't even care about the Eagles and Cowboys yesterday, and we'll talk about it in the NFL segment. But I didn't even care. Alright, because all that matters was that Alex Grinch was no longer my defensive coordinator. Alright, that bum, that scum, that piece of crap coach would not be tainting my football program any longer. We wouldn't see that joke of a defense any longer. Alright, the joke of a scheme. Now, I'm sure we're still going to get lit up for the rest of the year. Don't get me wrong, because I think it's someone on the town as well. But you know what? He's in charge of that too. If you can't develop him, you're no good anyway. And Alex Grinch was no good. Alright? He was absolutely no good. He was a rotten poison to the program that is USC. And I hate that we wasted 2 years of Superman on this bum at defensive coordinator. But thank God. I mean, won't he do it, as I said on my IG story yesterday? Won't he do it? Won't the Lord do it for you? Alex Grinch is gone. Bye-bye. Rest in piss, bozo. Congrats, Washington. Thank you. Let's talk about Alabama and LSU. All right, Alabama gets the win 42-28. Second half Bama is ridiculous. Okay, simply put, second half Bama is terrifying, scary. I don't know what Nick Saban, I don't know what type of threats he issues out during the second half or at halftime, but it's working. Okay, it is absolutely working. Unfortunately, in this game as well, another thing that absolutely changed this game, Jaden Daniels gets knocked out with a concussion. Dallas Turner with a late-ish hit. I'm not going to say it was a dirty hit, but, you know, what happened is what happened, and he gets knocked out of this game. And Alabama basically just cruises from there. JD, by the way, had 382, 2 touchdowns, and a pick in this game. Malik Neighbors, again, could not be stopped. Kool-Aid McKinstry, y'all are going to have to do a lot of convincing. If he is supposed to be, he is not better than Terrion Arnold. I don't even think he's quarterback 1 on his team, so I'm very confused on how he's quarterback 1 in the draft. But nonetheless, Malik Neighbors torches another defense, 10 receptions, 171 and a touchdown. Harold Perkins has 8 tackles, 1 pick. But Jalen Milroe, baby. Jalen Milroe. The coin was flipping. And for another week, it was more now, it was negative at a certain point, but for another week, it was more positive. We continue to see growth week from week with Milroe. So that's all you'll take. And by the way, Bama might F around and make the playoff. I know a lot of people were like, yo, after they lost to Texas, Bama's dead. They're not dead. They're not at all dead. All right? They still could sneak into the playoff. They keep winning games. And yeah, Milroe continues to deliver. 219, of course, 155 of that was on the ground. 4 touchdowns. And yeah, Milroe is becoming a problem. Two-Face he's landing more positive than the negative nowadays. And yeah, Bama gets a big win versus LSU. And to end off the major, like, I guess, games we talk about or highlight that I probably picked a picture up for, Arizona takes out UCLA. Like I said, it was a great week. All of my enemies failed. All right? All of my enemies got taken out this week. And Alex Grinch. I'm good. I would have taken the win versus Washington, but you know what? If we'd have won, say Caleb, scores before we don't punt there, and we F around and win this game, then maybe Grinch doesn't get fired. So it was a necessary sacrifice in the words of Danos. Okay? All of my enemies lost. Arizona continues to be a very dangerous team. All right? 27-10. What is Chip Kelly doing, by the way? He's going with Garbers, but why sit Dante? Let Dante, if you're going to throw Dante in the fire, let him go to the fire and work this stuff out. Don't go to Garbers, and then Garbers is just trash. Like, I don't understand exactly what he's doing. Noah Fafita continues to be the best freshman quarterback, and I don't really think it's up for debate. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. Arizona's dangerous, all right? They're a lot better than a lot of people are giving them credit for, and UCLA, after round and found out. I don't know what Chip Kelly's doing, but Noah Fafita is that guy. And to end off the college football segment as a whole, Iowa takes out Northwestern in a, once again, very Iowa, terrible, horrific, terrible game. 10-7. But you know what? It's starting to become entertaining. I mean, it's absolutely sick. I mean, sick football. But it is somewhat becoming entertaining to see how Iowa can continue to have one of the greatest defenses on the face of this earth and a sick child at offense. I mean, it is disturbing, but it's entertaining. It's sick in a really entertaining way. Iowa football, and I'm kind of becoming, I don't know if it's, I don't know if something's wrong with my, brain chemistry, but it's starting to become entertaining. But Iowa continues to be sickos and find another disgusting way to win a game. Sugar gets absolutely, I mean, please get some offensive line for your son, all right? For your son, Dion, please. Please get some OL, because Shedeur is getting beat up. I can't even comment about his play because he's got 2 seconds to throw the ball before he gets rocked. Alright? Oregon State gets the win, 26-10, but Shedeur is getting absolutely annihilated recently. And yeah, he'll be back next year because it has not been fun for Colorado. And of course the hype is dying now. So yeah. DJU I'd have thought I really would have thought Oregon State would have scored more though, I want to say. World Series, MLB. Game 5, because that's all it took. All right, the Rangers get the win 5-0. No need for me to just kind of throw the glitz and glam. They dominated this game, especially after the 7th. All right, it was a really interesting game. Zach Gallen, I think, had a no-hitter at one point for the Diamondbacks, but all hell broke loose in the 7th. And Arizona had no answer. Had absolutely no answer. They did this without, by the way, Adolis Garcia, who broke the playoff RBI record for a single playoff kind of run. He broke that. He was gone for the last 2 games. Max Scherzer wasn't available, and the Rangers still won. All right, it was time. It was time for the. I don't know if it was a curse necessarily, or they just By the way, one of the longest streaks or time periods without a championship win the Rangers had very quietly. It's over. All right, it is over. Marcus Semien puts the game away, I think, in the 8th or 9th inning. I think it was the 8th inning. But yeah, Rangers get it done. Simply put, I mean, they became the team. They transformed in that playoff run into the team of destiny. Went from nearly 0 to hero from last year to this year. So yeah, credit where credit's due. Corey Seager becomes the first man to win a World Series MVP in both the AL and the NL. So yeah, shout out to Seager. Continues to pad his Hall of Fame resume. And yeah, emerged quietly, very quietly, as one of the best players of this generation. I know we don't usually talk about Seager in that context, but I mean, the accolades are the accolades, the achievements are the achievements. We gotta give him flowers where he deserves them, and he deserves them for the way he played in this World Series. He was phenomenal and a well-deserved World Series MVP. And congratulations to the Rangers, and shout out to Dallas as they get a World Series ring finally. ENT Entertainment. All right. Gen V, this season finale, not the series finale, but the season finale, all hell broke loose at God U. The war begins. Kate goes full rad. She goes full soup. All right, full radicalized soup. Full team soup, whatever you want to say. Her and Sam, they free the kids from the woods, and then they just go on a human killing fest. And it is, I mean, just a bloody, gory, just absolute disaster for God U. However, she loses a hand. I listen. I thought Jordan was cooked. I thought it was over for Jordan after they got the little takedown, and I thought Homelander, who came back in this, and we'll talk about that. I thought Jordan was dead. I thought either Kate was gonna kill him or Jordan was gonna kill him, but instead Kate loses an arm for it. But of course, she is so powerful that she can just use her head. She's Professor X. All right, she's just Professor X in Magneto's kind of like mindset. It's very interesting, by the way. She's powerful enough to be in the 7, so I'm very interested to see what happens there. Also, they need a new Black Noir. Might that be Sam? I could see them going that direction. But yeah, we'll see. They're supposed to be in the next season of The Boys, so I'll be looking forward to that. But yeah, they all kind of turned heel. Everybody else got, By the way, Marie tanks a Homelander blast. He arrives, instantly is just the most menacing person on screen. Shout out to Anthony Starr. And yeah, she somehow tanks a Homelander eye blast or laser blast. So yeah, Marie continues to be proving to be one of the most powerful soups. But yeah, Butcher arrives at the end in kind of like a post-credit scene. And yeah, it was a beautiful setup. The show was amazing. Alright, the show was amazing. The finale was very good, setting everything up. But yeah, everybody's in prison. They gotta break them out. They're being held by Vought. Kate and Sam are being held as these like saviors. Homelander, of course, is taking over. Butcher is still Butcher. The boys are still the boys. So yeah, after a very okay season 3 that had a lot of people, on a kind of like polarized scale, Gen V was a perfect palate cleanser, a perfect introduction to add elements into the story that I think were necessary, and yeah, it just made it even better. So yeah, great show. If you haven't watched Gen V, go watch it. Amazon is not paying me to say that, but nonetheless, it gets my cosign anyway. Invincible, alright? Invincible, Season 2, Episode 1. I feel like we've been waiting to say that for so long. Alright, but it finally arrived, alright? And we kicked off in like an alt timeline where Mark teams up with Nolan. So yeah, we had a nice little Nolan-Mark father-son link up. And it was absolutely disturbing. They're just slaughtering people, taking over the world. We have this alt-world Eve. It's basically setting up Angstrom Levy's. It's his, origin story. But anyways, one of the craziest, by the way, apparently Mark was testing on protesters how to break their neck and just paralyze them rather than kill them. So he does that to Eve so she can be his pet, the way that Debbie is Nolan's pet. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, back to, the actual timeline. And yeah, Mark is, still dealing with the loss of his father. Not that his father is dead, but, just everything that happened, kind of turned out to be a bad guy and then left you all alone, and your mother is in tatters, and you're just kind of on autopilot. But yes, he wants to help out, so him and Cecil kind of going back and forth with that. He allows him to do it. We got the new team and them kind of working through that. Amber so far has been good though. Amber, which is really, she was very annoying in the comics. Of course, the comics and the show have deviated slightly in certain aspects, so Amber was actually tolerable. Actually very tolerable. She was actually a really good girlfriend in this episode. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. And Levy, I think they did a really good job kind of showcasing him and his origin. The Mahler twins, of course, getting involved here. We will know which one is the clone now because one got burnt. So I like that they included that story points. And, yeah, Levy now has reason, or at least, even though it was technically his fault, reason to build off of his hatred for Mark. And yeah, we have a new villain. But yeah, Invincible, welcome back. I missed it. I think they did really good setting up the show and kind of organizing it. So yeah, Invincible is back. Loki, penultimate episode, alright? Season 2, Episode 5. Loki figures out time slipping, alright? We went back through the timelines as they were dying, see where everybody came from, whether it was Alcatraz, Obi as in Arthur, Mobius was a jet ski salesman. I really like the way Marvel kind of set that all up and how the showrunners kind of delivered on some of those kind of former references for each of those characters. And yeah, thought that was really cool. Of course, Loki, by the way. I don't know why he was so surprised that Sylvie recognized him. She's your variant, right? She's not like she was taken out of. She's your variant. She's also a god, technically, right? So, of course, she would remember everything. But yeah. Her timeline dies, and then she joins the team for real this time. And yeah, Loki figures out time slipping in and how to save everybody. So, going to be a very, very interesting episode 6. No King in this episode, by the way. No sign of King. No, he was back or any of that. So, very interested to see how we set that up in the next episode. But yeah, another really good episode of Loki. A very interesting episode. And in music, At the Party, Kid Cudi, Pharrell, and Travis. Honestly, I was a little mixed on Pharrell's verse. I'm not the biggest, I respect his creativity. I respect his, creative mind. I respect who Pharrell is. I don't really care for Pharrell, at least the Pharrell verse in this song necessarily. I don't really, it was eh. But Cudi and Trav did their thing, alright? Cudi and Trav, this felt like what the Scots was supposed to be. Here we're At the Party. So yeah, solid track. It made the playlist, but yeah, I wasn't too hot on that Pharrell verse. But yeah, Cudi, honestly, maybe the best we've heard him sound in a little bit, or at least since he was on Love 2, which was another him and Trav track. So yeah, kind of makes me wish we'd actually got that collab album that we're trying to do. But nonetheless, they deliver with At the Party playlist. Go check it out if you haven't already. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the National Football League. Alright? Brings us to the NFL. And similar to college football, it was either a great week for you or it was a horrific week for you. Let's find out. Thursday, Will Levis. Hot. Hot off of, the breakup with Gia Duddy. Him having the great breakup, dominant, first ever start game. But it was time to come back down to earth, and oh boy, did the Steelers bring him back down to earth. He finishes with only 262 and a pick. Not that Kenny Pickett was too great either, because he was not. Alright, this was not the greatest game if you were a neutral, but the Steelers won. So if you're a Steelers fan, congratulations, y'all got the win. Y'all honestly needed it, but yeah. Levis still was solid. Looks like he could be for the Titans, Steelers. Shaky, but you got the win, like I said. Alright. Let's go to Germany, okay, for a very big game, right, in terms of, the power structure of the NFL. Okay, we got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Miami Dolphins, who I think at some point in the season, both have been called the best team in the league. Maybe even on this channel at certain points. So this was a very big game. Of course, Cheetah facing his old team, yada, yada, yada. Pat Mahomes and Kelsey versus Mike McDaniel and the most explosive offense in the league. But the Dolphins just have a very clear Achilles heel, and that is playing actual comp. They fall to 6-3 as they lose in Germany to the Chiefs 21-14. This just felt simply like the Chiefs have been here before. Andy Reid, Pat, they've been here before. The Dolphins haven't. Tua hasn't been here before. The lights got a little bit too bright. The game got a little bit too grindy. Took away some of the flash. And the Dolphins were the same team, as we've seen repeatedly when they've played really good teams this year. And it's a trend. Not a good trend, especially if you want to be who I think a lot of people think the Dolphins could be. It's not the trend you want. They were down 21-0 at halftime in this game. Came back a little bit in that third quarter, but had nothing at all in that fourth quarter. And it was more so regular than Pat for the Chiefs in this game, even though he had a much better game than the flu game he had last week. He had 185 and 2 touchdowns. It was the defense. All right, it was the defense for the Chiefs that got it done. They sacked 2 or 3 times. They held Mozart to under 100 yards. A very, very well done. Very, very well done game from the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs. Shutting down that explosive Miami defense. And even honestly on the Dolphins side of the ball, Kelsey, I don't know if it's because, he only goes off when T Swift is at the game now. But yeah, held in check. Very much so held in check. Only 3 receptions, 14 yards. But like I said, when the defense plays the way that they did for Kansas City as they did in this game, they are going to be able to find a way to win games because they've been here and done this before. The Dolphins, Tua, haven't been here. They have not done this before, and they still have not done this before after this week. All is not lost, but it is a trend, like I said, that you want to get rid of. Chiefs win a very, very big game and still prove that they are one of the best teams in the league and a force to be reckoned with. The Ravens are also a force to be reckoned with. The Seahawks, not so much. 37-3. Justin Tucker and Jason Myers were dueling back and forth, it felt like, for a period of time in this game. By the way, Tuck had 3 field goals in this game, so shout out to the GOATs. Odell Beckham Jr. finally got a touchdown. However, Keaton Mitchell, out of ECU, the rookie, steals the show in this game. 138 yards and a touchdown. I know, normally we sit here and we talk about Lamar as, LJ. He's going crazy. If they've dropped 37, we're talking about, LJ had like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not in this game. Like I said, Keaton Mitchell, dominant performance. Of course, he had a longest 60. That accounted for most of that 138, but still, only on 9 carries. 138 yards in the TD. Lamar was still ultra efficient, 21 for 26 in this game. Gus Edwards continues to be one of the premier goal line backs, honestly, let's be honest, at this point in the league. And OBJ finally gets his touchdown. Kyle Van Noy had 2 sacks, and the Ravens dominate the Seahawks 37-3. They move to 7-2. The Cleveland Browns are a very solid team. The Arizona Cardinals, once again, are doing an absolutely shameless tank. They traded away Josh Dobbs, who we're going to talk about very, very soon in this segment. They traded him away for God knows why, besides pure tanking reasons. They decided to start Clayton Tune this week, and that went about as well as you would expect. 11 for 20, 58 yards, and 2 picks. I mean, just shameless. Absolutely shameless tanking from the Arizona Cardinals. They had no intention of winning this game. They have no intention of winning for the rest of the year. Even with Kyler allegedly coming back next week. I mean, it was shameless. All right, Deshaun came back this week, 219 and 2 touchdowns. Amari Cooper was dominant, looked like a number 1 receiver. 5 receptions, 139 and a touchdown for Coop. Dalvin Tomlinson was the guy on the defense side of the ball for the Browns this week. 2.5 sacks. Not one Myles Garrett, but Tomlinson for this week. And nothing else really to say about that. Browns get the win, 27-0. Absolutely shameless tanking from the Cardinals. This was one of the most entertaining games of the week, and who would have thought? Actually, with the way these two teams have played, maybe it was a little bit predictable. But the Texans get the win late, 39-37 over the Tampa Bay Bucks in one of the best games of the week. I mean, Baker Mayfield goes down the field, 46 seconds to go. He fights K. Dotton for the 14 yards away. They go up 37-33. You're thinking, man, the Bucks got it. But I said to my father, too much time. I said, that's too much time for C.J. Stroud. I'm a believer. I am here to repent. I have joined the bandwagon. All right? We have talked about C.J. extensively throughout his career at Ohio State. And now here with the Texans on this channel. I have not always been the biggest C.J. Stroud fan. I never said he was trash or anything like that. I always said he was a solid quarterback. But, I mean, let's be fair. At Ohio State, he was playing with the best receivers you could possibly have. All right? Whether it was Olave or JSN or Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka. Like, he had the best receivers that you could possibly have. So I was very interested to see how he would do when he doesn't have uncoverable, these receivers that are, godsends who cannot be covered, future All-Pros. And you know what? As we found out in this game, C.J. Stroud is just fine. He is one of them ones, all right? The Texans have found their franchise quarterback, and the Panthers are looking like fools right now, to be blunt. A rookie record, 470 yards and 5 touchdowns for C.J. Stroud. He goes 30 for 42, an absolute monster game. And like I said, the game-winning drive, he goes and finds Tank Dell to win the game. There's some absolutely beautiful balls. I'm a believer, all right? He's done a great job, all right? I don't want to just say it's because, CJ was always this guy. He has gotten a lot better. He put in some work. After getting drafted, he has clearly put in some work and continued to develop because even now, he's a much better passer, a much more effective, he was always accurate, but he always had those 1, 2, 3 balls that you were like, he's got to hit those. If he hits those, he's a superstar, right? But he missed. He always had those misses. And then at Ohio State, another thing that always happened was in those big games, in those big moments, you couldn't always count on CJ to show up. Couldn't always, account for him to, he's going to be CJ Stroud this game. That has not been the case here in the NFL. Besides, of course, losing to Bryce and the Panthers last week. CJ has risen to the occasion. He rose to the occasion. This was the arrival game, in my opinion, for Stroud. Like I said, a rookie record, 470 and 5 touchdowns. He was incredible. Dalton Schultz, all right? Got to give him some flowers as well. 10 receptions, 130 and a touchdown. Tank Dell, who got the game winner. 6 receptions, 114 and a touchdown. Noah Brown had 6, 153 and a touchdown to lead all receivers. But an absolutely incredible game from both teams. Blake Cashman continues to tackle everything with the post, by the way, on the defense side of the ball. Baker played a solid game, all right? I can't put this on him. Your defense has to make a stop there and try to stop CJ, but they could not. Baker did everything he could to win this game. He has been he's been a good quarterback for Tampa Bay. I'm not sure if he's the long-term answer, but for right now, he is perfectly fine, all right? 21 for 30, 265 and 2 touchdowns for Baker in this game. K-Dot had both of those touchdowns. But like I said, C.J. Stroud would not be denied. He has arrived. The Saints take out the Bears, who once again are starting Tyson Badgett. And that also similar to the, Cardinals starting Clayton Tune. It's going about what you would expect, okay? And he was better than Tune this week, all right? 220. 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. A hat trick of picks. It's not ideal. It's not ideal by any means. Derek Carr goes 25 for 34, 211, 2 touchdowns. Taysom Hill continues to play wherever the Saints need him. Recently, it's been at running back, and it's been effective, actually. And, the Saints get the win 24-17. But, let's be real. The Bears are tanking anyway. The Vikings take out the Falcons 31-28. Another game that went down to the wire. But Josh Dobbs didn't even start this game. Wasn't supposed to play this game, by the way. But after Jaren Hall goes down with, I believe, what was a concussion, they have to throw Dobbs into the fire. And he has made himself some money this year. With the Cardinals and now here with the Vikings, has made himself some money as one of the premier backup quarterbacks that you just know. Hey, if my quarterback goes down, I feel comfortable throwing Dobbs in. He has proven that this year, and boy, did he prove that in this game here against the Falcons. All right. After Hall goes down, he goes 20 for 30, 158 and 2 touchdowns. Traded for him this week. I don't even know if he knows the playbook for real. But you know what? Came through when the Vikings needed him and won this game. He also had a rushing touchdown and 66 yards. So over 200 yards, actually, and 3 touchdowns for Dobbs in this game. Just an absolutely phenomenal performance. And honestly, if he wasn't, of course, in the scenario that he is, it would be a star-making performance for Dobbs. But, of course, he's simply just the stopgap. But he is a hell of a stopgap. And, credit where credit's due, man. Shout out to Josh Dobbs. An impressive performance. Falcons. Can't let this game up like that. You just cannot. Listen, prevent defense does not win anything, bro. 5 receptions, 100 yards and a touchdown, though, for Jonnu. They did have 4 sacks in this game. But, like I said, man, this was the Josh Dobbs game. The same way that Texans-Bucks game ended up being the C.J. Stroud game, this was the Josh Dobbs game. He comes through in the clutch, gets the Vikings to win 31-28 on the road. Now, Packers finally win another game. I didn't know if it was going to happen. They win 20-3. It was not pretty. But, of course, the Rams were starting Brett Rypien. And, as I've said with pretty much all of the bum quarterbacks this week, that went about as you expected. Not great. Jordan Love, much more efficient this week. But, nothing too exciting about that game. Packers get the win, 20-3. The Commanders get the win over the Patriots, 20-17. Mac Jones is not that guy. Even though that pick was not on him, that was on Juju, who What happened? All right, he was my guy. I thought he was going to be. I didn't think he was just like a product of AB, taking it away. But, maybe in a different world, he's still a great number 2, but he does not look like a great anything because I can't even put that. I know the commentator was like, yo, Max shouldn't have known that. It went straight through Juju's hands and ended up as an interception. All right, he's got to make that play, and they didn't. So that's on him, in my opinion. Sam Howell had 325 and blessed my fantasy team. Thank you, Lord Sam. And the Commanders get the win 20-17. Like I said, folded. Absolutely folded. Juju folded, and the Patriots pay for it. Of course, they're not a great team anyway, but the Commanders get a much-needed win nonetheless. The Carolina Panthers, all right? This was a very big game. This was a very, very big game. This could have been a season-altering game. But the Panthers suck, all right? As we've said many times this year, pretty much every week, except for last week, the Panthers suck, all right? And that is just the truth of life, all right? Bryce sucked in this game. He went 173, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions, which is not good, especially considering what his chieftain rival did this week. The complete opposite is what Bryce Young compared to what CJ Stroud did. That was the complete opposite. All right, it was disaster. And to be fair, like I said, the Panthers are not a good football team. And unfortunately for the Panthers, they don't have that #1 overall pick. The Bears do. And that's even worse. So, just nothing but misery. Nothing positive for me to say about this game for the Panthers. It was disaster from the start. It was disaster throughout this thing. Not 1, but 2 pick sixes for Bryce Young. And Minshew didn't even have to do too much because if you have 2 pick sixes, you better win the game, and the Colts did. The Panthers are hot garbage, but who was really surprised? Josh McDaniels got fired this week. So, happy days in Las Vegas. Happy days in Las Vegas. They also got rid of their GM. So how would that pay off, right? How would that pay off for the Raiders? In glory. In glory, because they go out and they embarrass the Giants. All right? Nightmare. A nightmare game for the Giants, because not only did you have to play Tommy DeVito, who had 2 picks in this game, but Daniel Jones tears his ACL in this game. And just an absolute disaster. They bench, however, for the Raiders, they benched Jimmy G this week. I mean, they cleaned house. They said, you know what? We're blowing this up. We're just going to go all new. And it worked. It worked perfectly, all right? O'Connell was much better than his first start. Didn't turn the ball over. I think that was the key this week. Josh Jacobs finally looked like Josh Jacobs of yesteryear. 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. Max Crosby, though, dominated. 8 tackles, 3 sacks. Of course, everybody was talking about that, I need y'all to show up video. Everybody was talking about that all week. But by the way, Max Crosby is also just that guy. All right, he might be Defensive Player of the Year this year. 3 sacks in this game. He completely dominated. All right, completely dominated this game. It was incredible to watch. One of the best defensive lineman performances of the year. And the Raiders completely eviscerate the Giants, who are just in a spiral. I mean, they are spiraling. In a division with the Cowboys and the Eagles, and to a much lesser extent the Commanders, the Giants somehow are the worst team after everything that happened last year and all the hope they had in Brian DeBall, Coach of the Year. It has been the exact opposite this year. It has been disaster, and this was a disastrous game for the Giants. However, Raiders gotta be happy. The Eagles and the Cowboys. It was a very good game. All right, I wasn't even too mad that we lost this game. I didn't expect us to win. And you know what? Dak showed up big time, but unfortunately, we just didn't have luck. We just did not have luck in this game. Whether it was the Ferguson not a TD, CD not being in the ends, the luck, the ball didn't fall our way. All right, that's all I can say. Not that I'm saying the Eagles didn't deserve it. They were a very good team. Obviously, 8-1. They have earned it. But this was a much more evenly matched game than I think I anticipated. So I wasn't too mad about it. Honestly, was not too mad about it. Hurts goes 207 and 2 touchdowns, 3, including the rushing touchdown. So a very solid game from him. DeAndre Swift, very much so held in check. A.J. Brown had a touchdown, but only 66 yards. So the streak is broken by the Cowboys this week. A lot of people might have predicted that with the way our, defense has been this week. Our defense has really been this year, should I say. So, credit where credit's due. They did have 5 sacks to Dak, which is not great. Some of those were on Dak, by the way. Got to get the ball out. But I can't complain. QB1 was QB1. 374 and 3 touchdowns. You're not going to get too much complaining from me if you play a game like that, right? We always talk about Dak not showing up in the big time. He showed up in this game. For all intents and purposes, Dak showed up in this game. Like I said, though, it just did not fall in our favor. CeeDee Lamb was great. 11 receptions, 191. Jake Ferguson looks like the answer at tight end, as he has all year. 7 receptions, 91 yards, and a touchdown. Just unfortunate. Unfortunate game for us. But yeah, the Eagles, they get it done. Micah was Micah. Can't really, like I said, I could pick out very minuscule things about we could have done this better. But you know what? Eagles were a better team. They had better luck. They got it done. I can't really hate. It was a great game, though. Great game as a neutral as well. The Bengals take out the Bills. At one point in time, do we just accept the Bills for what they are? They're 5-4. At what point in time do we stop putting the Bills on a pedestal? I don't know if they're elite. I know we talk about, same thing with, we always talk about Josh Allen and Diggs and, what this Bills team could be. What about what they are? Alright? For all of the hype we constantly give them, and for all of the, top of the power rankings, boost we give them, they're 5-4 at the end of the day. They are a very near average team. Very much so near average, alright? They're not that much different from, honestly, the Dolphins right now. Because against these big teams, they always come up short. And they came up short against the Bengals once again. Too little, too late. They tried to get back into it, and it just didn't work out. Allen and Diggs finally got going in that second half, but like I said, it was too little, too late. Joe Burrow is back, and he is dealing. 348 and 2 touchdowns. T. Higgins finally has a big game. 8 receptions, 110 for T. Jamar Chase held in check. But like I said, the 3-headed monster, somebody's going to go off every week. This week it was Higgins, and Burrow did Burrow things. And the Bills just did not have it. Too little, too late. Josh Allen, 258, a touchdown and a pick. Yes, he also had one on the ground. But like I said, it's not enough. Dalton Kincaid continues to break out at tight end for them. No surprises there. But the Bills, we need to accept them for what they are. They're an okay team, but until they start winning these big games, let's not call them a contender. Let's not do that. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the Roundup, which is headlined, as always, by racing. But we're going to lose one of the racing, leagues, unfortunately, this week. NASCAR had its conclusion. All right, Ross Chastain wins at Phoenix. But it is Ryan Blaney who finishes second and claims his first ever championship in NASCAR. So yeah, congrats to Blaney, a guy that a lot of people had tapped as a future champion. He has been one of the best drivers in the world for a very, very long time. He is a part of that kind of new era, that new wave of drivers that kind of, rose upon the scene about 5 years ago. Of course, he's a legacy, that Blaney family name. And yeah, a lot of people like Ryan, a lot of people had him tapped as a future champion. And he is finally delivered upon that promise. So yeah, shout out to Ryan, a very worthy champ. I did want to say, back-to-back championships, by the way, I believe, because Logano won last year. So back-to-back championships for Penske. We always talk about Hendrick, but Penske's got they got the silverware right now. So yeah, shout out to Blaney. He is the champion of NASCAR. We will see you next season. F1 continues to wind down, and Max Verstappen continues to break records. As I used to say, I don't need to tell you who won. You know who won. Max won. He wins in Sao Paulo. His 17th. He breaks Ascari, officially breaks his win percentage record for a season, which is ridiculous because Ascari did with 8 races. Max has done it with, 20 or so? So, yeah. Ridiculous. This race was chaotic. All right, Charles was out before the race started because his hydraulics failed. And then on the first turn, we lose Alex Albon and K-Mag. Piastri gets damaged in that as well. It was just a chaotic race. Lando and Max were just better than everybody else in the sense that it was Max, then Lando, and then everybody else. So yeah, shout out once again. McLaren has turned that season around, and they've had the second best car, if we're being honest, throughout the second half of the season. And Lando honestly has been the second best driver, I dare to say. Or at least on that same level as Lewis throughout just kind of the second half of the season. But yeah, Lando, very, very good race. Another podium for him. Fernando and Checo put on a show. All right. Alonso and Checo put on a show in those last 3 laps. That was electrifying. For all the flack we give Checo, he went back and forth with a legend. All right, that was one of the best duels, I think, of the year. And yeah, Alonso ends up winning it. He gets the third, the last place on that podium. But still, a very good race, a very entertaining race. But yeah, still all max as usual. In the UFC, we had a fight night. Almeida pretty much wrestle F'd Derek Lewis. So it wasn't very interesting, to be completely honest with you. But John Almeida gets another win, and that's all I really need to say about that, because that was a very boring fight. But we do have UFC 295 this week, which of course is headlined by a series of matchups in 2 very injury-torn divisions that now we have these title matchups for, based off of who's left healthy. But are now both very, very interesting stylistic matchups. Like, for the light heavyweight, championship, Jerry versus Alex. Oh boy. Somebody's getting KO'd. This has no chance of going the distance. Alright? And honestly, Alex hits is a murderer. He hits like a truck. I think Alex is going to knock out Jerry. Okay? I think Jerry is just so unorthodox. I think his defensive style is just not going to work against Alex. And I think Alex is going to knock him out cold. That is my firm belief. I think Alex Pereira is going to be light heavyweight champion and submit his UFC Hall of Fame in quick succession. Because, yeah, I just don't see it working. I think stylistically, I think this is a nightmare for Jerry with the way he fights. But maybe, if he has this iron chin against Alex, then he's a different breed and he will deserve the win. But I got Alex by KO. And then, of course, we got Sergey versus Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight crown. I got no idea who's going to win this one. Lord knows. This is a 50-50 for me. I could see a finish. I could see it going the distance. I have no idea what to expect. I think it's going to be a good scrap, though. Should be very interesting. Somebody's got to rise to the occasion and become champ. So, yeah, we're going to see. But it should be very interesting. UFC 295, I think it's going to be one of the most entertaining cards of the year. But, yeah, going to be very, very interesting. And to end us off here, NBA, Wemby has arrived. A dominant performance against the Suns. Took them out. But, wasn't too great on the weekend. But, still overall, Wemby's arrived. Defensively, he is there. All right, he is there. Gotta, put it all together offensively. I think they're doing a lot better job of using him. I think they figured that out in the Suns game. But defensively, he's there. All right, he is a force. The way he is altering shot selection for other teams, it is insane. All right, it is absolutely insane. But yeah, Wemby has arrived. Scotty Barnes, by the way, has taken the jump. Has firmly taken the jump. And is looking like the star that a lot of people in Toronto wanted him to be. He is looking like he's going to live up to that promise. Who else? Oh, LaMelo Ball has been great, by the way. Is that back-to-back triple-doubles, by the way, for LaMelo? He has been great. Of course, even though Tyrese dropped 43, that last possession was phenomenal. And, of course, even though he took an L versus the Mavs, he was great in that game against Luka. So, yeah, Melo looking like he might be taking the jump. It's going to be very interesting. Still very early in the season, but we will see what happens as we go forward. But, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed. That is all for episode 170, like I said. Your team may have survived, or they may have, not made it out of spooky season, but nonetheless, it is time to keep going. And we're going to see. It's going to be a very interesting week next week. And yeah, UFC 259, more in football, more in the NBA, NHL going on, and of course F1, Max continuing to win. But without further ado, Ocho signing off.